Hi YouTube, it's Hayley. I just thought I would come and explain what happened to our little Holly. She was in hospital for 5 days and it was a really awful experience, but we're really lucky that she came good through it all. Anyway, so she was 16 days old and we just started to realise that she felt a bit warm. This was like on a Tuesday and Wednesday, and we just thought we were overwrapping her. It wasn't a particularly hot day, but I just didn't really think much else about it because she wasn't sick or anything, like vomiting, or she was feeding just as much as she was. She seemed totally normal. But looking back, she was a bit warm and her temperature was probably climbing. And then on the Wednesday night, we realised she was getting quite hot. So we took her temperature and it was 38 degrees, so it was above. And I know with kids, their temperatures can go super high and no one really bothers too much. Unless it's accompanied by a rash or other signs that they want to investigate. But kids' temperatures with teething and lots of things can go quite high. But I never had any problems with temperatures with Zoe. So even though I'm a nurse, I'm not a pediatric nurse. So I thought, oh, it's up a bit, but I'm not going to go to the emergency in the middle of the night. Everything else is fine with her. I'll just maybe suss it out in the morning. So anyway, she was a little bit more grizzly in the night and she was sleeping longer. She wasn't her normal feisty self. And I took her to the doctor in the morning and her temperature was 39 degrees. So it was going up, and we hadn't given her any Panadol because usually you don't give it before they're 1 month old unless doctor says. And he said for us to go straight to the emergency room for tests. And I just thought this was all a bit full on because she was still feeding and everything. But they said no, the baby of this age should not have temperatures like this. You know, older babies maybe for other things, but not this young. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was still pretty relaxed about it. I was worried, but I wasn't like, stressing out like crazy or anything. Anyway, we went to the emergency. We didn't have to wait long. We went into the pediatric part and they just started to do a whole lot of invasive, painful tests. Just simple things like drawing blood just took forever and Holly would scream. So like blood tests, urine tests, I had to like hold her up and try and catch the wee coming out after a feed, and just a whole lot of other tests. She had to have a lumbar puncture, which they tried 3 different doctors, which was like the worst experience I could ever go through, that Holly could ever go through. No painkillers, just like a huge needle just stabbing it out of back. And I finally got, after like being in emergency for 8 or 9 hours, they finally got the lumbar puncture done amongst other tests. And so that was a relief. And then by that night, we found out everything so far had been clear, but her temperature was going up to 40 and 41 degrees. Her respiratory rate was up to 90. And the high point of the normal is around 60, so it was right up. And her pulse rate was, I think the highest I saw it was 220 or 230, which was like crazy high. So after we got discharged from the emergency and went up to the ward, there was just doctors and nurses coming in and out of her room all night. I stayed in with her, of course, on like a little bed, and my husband had to go home, of course, because he had to look after Zoe. And I just had to call him with updates, and it was just really stressful. They had to keep taking blood from her, and she stopped feeding. She was just really lethargic. I didn't have to settle her to go to sleep. She would just lay down and crash out in any position, and I just was absolutely terrified. Anyway, and then, so in total she was there for 5 days. She got a rash all over her body, but it was blanching. You could press it and it would go away and then come back. And her feeds were on and off, and her temperature was going up and down like a yo-yo. And then through all of this, I got mastitis, I got the chills, and I had huge temperatures. I had to go on antibiotics myself. I had to use the pump in the hospital. I did have one at home, but their one was like magic. And the whole experience, the doctors and nurses were wonderful. And, you know, being a nurse myself, I did have high expectations. And we were at like a general public hospital with on a children's ward, but I was not sure if we should be going to the children's hospital or what. Anyway, the pediatrician was really good, and we ended up being discharged. Her stool sample came back positive. Everything else was negative for an enteroviral infection, so something that you and me probably would never get, or if we did, we'd have a little sniffle or something. But for babies to pick it up, they can get very sick, and you know, the virus can travel up into their brain and everything. So eventually she just fought it off herself. She had temperatures of like 40 to 41 degrees for 3 days straight, and her little heart just kept beating 200 beats a minute. Like her body went through so much stress. Yeah, it was so worrying. But anyway, and the way she got it, we don't know. We probably think that Zoe gave her a kiss and she might have had something, because it's a kid's virus, and then she got it that way. But we weren't taking her out anywhere where there's like lots of people, or like it just could have been anywhere. It could have been just anywhere. So that's what happened to her. You just don't ever think it's going to happen to you. You just think it happens to other people. And perfectly healthy baby just went downhill very quickly. So anyway, that's what happened, and I hope no one else has to experience any of that. And so now she's got a clean bill of health and she's thriving, and during that week she even still managed to put on 100 grams. So that was amazing. And that's her story. See you later.